We're on this bike path and it's about a quarter of a mile to the road, just this long stretch. And all along the path is this beautiful hedge that runs adjacent to a railroad. And it's amazing because you'd think that a hedge in the middle of a suburban area would just be, nothing too interesting, maybe a lot of exotic plants. But this is full of a lot of really useful, interesting bushcraft plants. So let's take a look. So the most notable one right here is this huge plant with these big red stems and these interesting sort of pumpkin-shaped berries almost. And this is called pokeweed. Now it's actually a toxic plant, but you can make a dish out of it called poke salad. And the way you do this is you take the leaves, you have to take them while they're still young and they don't have any red on the stem. But you take them and you boil them 3 times over, and this will get rid of any of the toxins inside. And there's a similar plant over here. You can see it's got these sort of reddish seeds coming off of it. And there's also these sort of wrinkly leaves. And what this is called curly dock. And similar to the poke salad, it's got toxins. It's got a lot of oxalic acid in it. But if you boil it 3 times over, you can eat the leaves. So just above it is this plant, which is a thistle. And the most obvious way to tell is it's got these leaves with a bunch of thorns coming off of them. But right now it's growing all these fluffy seeds. And this is fantastic tinder. It'll catch a spark and just light instantly. I'll give a really quick demonstration here. So just in this little spot, you've got a plant to start the fire and a plant to cook over it. Now there's another edible plant here, commonly known as Queen Anne's lace, also called wild carrot. Now the trouble with this is that it looks extremely similar to another plant called poison hemlock, and I think you can guess that you don't want to eat that. But there are some key ways to tell the difference. First of all is, if you look around, you'll find some flowers have this little tiny purple flower in the center here. And also, with wild carrot, the stems sort of have this hairiness on it. So, you can pull up the root and just eat that. So this is a plant that I've definitely identified as wild carrot. And you really want to be sure. And I'm just going to try and tug on this root until it comes out. See if maybe I can loosen it up a bit. There we go. Really small for how big the plant was, but it is a wild carrot after all. Just take this off. Let's get the knife out. Oops. It's kind of got this rind on it that you can peel away. That way you can get rid of the dirt quite easily. Let's give it a try. It even has a slight carrot smell. A bit woodier maybe, but let's see how it is. The root tasted woody and was impossible to eat. It's better to eat these in the fall, but if you don't know for sure what plant you're looking at, it's not worth the risk. So over here is one of my favorite plants, and I'm being sincere about that. It is one of my favorites. This is the stinging nettle. Many of you might actually already know about this, but there's tiny little hairs on it, and if you brush up against it the right way, it'll inject this chemical inside of you, and it hurts like hell, and it sort of makes your skin bubble up a little bit. But the pain is temporary, and if you grasp the plant firmly enough, it won't affect you. But the beautiful thing about this is these leaves are actually edible. You just pick them, and you can soak them in the water for 10 minutes to get rid of the hairs, and then you can either boil it, stir fry it, or you can even just take the whole plant and roast it over a fire. And let me tell you, this is really delicious. I actually prefer it to spinach and a lot of other leafy greens that you can find in the store. Some of the ways to identify it, other than the stinging hairs, are these leaves. They have these very distinct serrations. And also the stem sort of has a square shape. It kind of looks like 4 columns that are arranged in a square. Let me show you what I mean. If you cut the stem, you can see that it's sort of a square shape, made up of these 4 different columns around it. Stinging nettle also has strong fibers that can be spun into cordage. The beautiful thing is that right next to all those stinging nettles is this plant, which is jewelweed. And if you get stung by the nettle, you can just take a piece of this stem and just rub it on where you were stung. I got a little bit on my finger here, so you just sort of rub the juices that are in the stem onto the affected area, and it'll soothe it. Really elegant plant, and they've got some beautiful flowers down here too. And this one also has a seed pod, and when you touch these, they just pop like bubble wrap.
There was no need for water this time, though. Our thirst was quenched and our spirits were filled. We hiked across the fields, making our way to a distant evergreen forest.